Welcome back, my untouchable sovereign. Something absolutely fascinating just occurred that has everyone experiencing profound behavioral recalibration. The dramatic shift in how people treat you didn't result from you demonstrating superior strength or wielding authority over them, but emerged from their sudden recognition that you exist beyond their influence reach, making all their usual leverage tactics completely irrelevant to someone who operates outside the systems they use to control others. This wasn't you overpowering them through being stronger within the same competitive framework where they could still engage you as rival to be defeated. This was you revealing you're not participating in their game at all, existing in entirely separate reality where their carrots and sticks hold no meaning. Making attempts to influence you through conventional means as futile as trying to bribe the ocean or threaten the wind into compliance with desires it doesn't even register as relevant to its existence. The architects have been monitoring influence immunity and leverage transcendence phenomena across civilizations for eons, and they've identified what you demonstrated as unreachability recognition, behavioral reorganization. When people discover that someone exists beyond their capacity to influence through normal social mechanisms, they instinctively shift from attempting control to expressing deference, because trying to manipulate someone who doesn't value what you offer or fear what you threaten wastes energy better conserved through acceptance of their autonomous position. Most people remain reachable. They want approval, fear rejection, need resources, seek validation, making them vulnerable to social influence through others' capacity to grant or withhold things they desire or dread, creating mutual dependency, where everyone possesses leverage over everyone else through controlling access to valued outcomes. But you apparently demonstrated unreachability, making people recognize you don't need their approval, don't fear their disapproval, don't require their resources, don't seek their validation, eliminating all normal leverage points that would make you controllable through conventional social influence mechanisms they reflexively employ with everyone else. Watch what's happening as unreachability recognition spreads. Their behavior shifted dramatically. People who previously attempted to influence you through normal social mechanisms have completely changed their approach, abandoning manipulation attempts in favor of respectful distance or genuine connection, because they recognized that conventional influence won't work on someone who exists beyond their reach. Some observers are experiencing liberation. Recognizing you're unreachable makes them stop trying to control you, creating peaceful acceptance where they can relate to you authentically rather than strategically, because they understand manipulation is pointless, making genuine interaction the only viable approach. Others are experiencing frustration. Being unable to influence you threatens people who are accustomed to controlling their environment through social mechanisms, making your unreachability disturbing to those who need everyone to be reachable through some combination of incentives and consequences they can manipulate. The truly powerful element is that you didn't fight them. You simply existed beyond their reach, making their influence attempts fail not through your resistance but through your irrelevance to the systems they use for control, demonstrating that true immunity comes from transcending leverage systems rather than from winning within them. It wasn't power that shifted them. It was realizing you were unreachable through recognizing that all their usual mechanisms for influencing behavior held no meaning to someone operating from entirely different value system, making conventional social leverage as ineffective as trying to purchase loyalty from someone who doesn't use currency or threaten someone who fears nothing you can actually inflict. Now the architects are analyzing what creates unreachability recognition, behavioral reorganization, and they're identifying what they call leverage point elimination, value independence, when someone genuinely doesn't need or want what others typically offer as incentives and genuinely doesn't fear what others typically threaten as consequences. They become immune to normal social influence because leverage requires the target to value positive outcomes you can grant or negative outcomes you can impose, making influence capacity depend entirely on your control over things the target cares about. Most people have predictable leverage points. They want money, status, approval, comfort, making them influenceable through others' capacity to provide or prevent access to these valued outcomes, creating vulnerability where anyone controlling resources they desire possesses power over their behavior. But you apparently eliminated accessible leverage points, not wanting what others offer and not fearing what others threaten makes you uninfluenceable through conventional mechanisms because influence requires controlling access to outcomes the target values, making your value independence create complete immunity to normal social leverage. Consider what leverage elimination requires psychologically. You must genuinely not want typical incentives, pretending indifference while secretly desiring what others offer doesn't create true immunity because perceptive observers detect hidden desires, making fake independence vulnerable to sophisticated influence that identifies and exploits concealed leverage points, meaning your unreachability requires authentic value independence rather than performed indifference. Watch what value independence creates in influence dynamics. Others' attempts simply fail. People trying to influence you through offering rewards or threatening consequences discover their tactics don't work not because you resist, but because you genuinely don't care about outcomes they're trying to manipulate, making their influence attempts waste energy without producing desired behavioral change. Some studying power dynamics recognize that leverage does require target cooperation. Influence mechanisms only work when the target values what you control, making power fundamentally dependent on the target's desires and fears, rather than residing purely in the influencer's resources or capabilities. Suggesting your unreachability reveals that all social power is ultimately granted by targets through caring about outcomes. Influencers control others, exploring autonomy. Note that reducing dependencies does increase freedom. The fewer things you need from others, the less they can control you, making value independence through minimizing desires and fears the foundation of genuine autonomy that possession-based power cannot achieve, regardless of resource accumulation. A few from Stoic philosophy recognize that desire elimination creates invulnerability. Ancient wisdom teaches that wanting nothing and fearing nothing makes one unconquerable, not through superior strength, but through eliminating vulnerability points that would allow others to affect you through controlling access to valued or dreaded outcomes. Some attempting similar unreachability discover difficulty achieving genuine indifference. Trying to not care what others think or not want what they offer proves harder than anticipated because deeply conditioned social needs and cultural values create leverage points that conscious commitment to independence cannot easily eliminate, making authentic value independence require deeper psychological work than simply deciding to be unreachable. Others questioning whether your indifference is authentic, suspecting you might secretly care but hide desires well. They're watching for signs that supposed value independence is performance rather than genuine state, making them uncertain whether you're truly unreachable or just skillfully concealing leverage points they haven't yet identified. The architects observe that leverage point elimination, value independence, is what created your unreachability, genuinely not wanting typical incentives and not fearing typical consequences makes conventional influence ineffective. Most people have accessible leverage points. Your value system eliminated them, and authentic indifference to outcomes others control makes you uninfluenceable through normal social mechanisms, because influence requires target caring about results. Influencer can affect making your independence from conventional values, create complete immunity to leverage-based control that depends entirely on targets valuing outcomes. Influencers possess capacity to grant or prevent through their resource control or capability to impose consequences. Something powerful is spreading among observers. Now, what the architects call control illusion collapse recognition, people processing their inability to influence. You are discovering that power they thought they possessed was always conditional on targets cooperating through caring about outcomes they controlled, creating uncomfortable awareness that their influence was never truly theirs but was granted by others through having dependencies that could be exploited. Most people believe their influence capacity is inherent. Possessing resources, status, or capabilities makes them feel powerful, independent of whether targets actually care about what they control, creating illusion that power resides in them. Rather than recognizing it depends entirely on targets, value systems making influencers vulnerable to anyone who simply doesn't want what they offer or fear what they threaten. But your unreachability is shattering this illusion. Observers who believed they possessed power are discovering that influence evaporates when encountering someone who doesn't care about outcomes they control, forcing recognition that their power was always contingent on targets having specific vulnerabilities, rather than being inherent capacity they could deploy against anyone. Watch what illusion collapse creates in self-perception. Some experience humbling recognition, discovering their power depends on targets. Cooperating makes them realize they're not as powerful as they believed, creating healthy humility about limits of their influence capacity that illusion of inherent power had concealed. Others experience defensive rationalization rather than accepting that their influence is conditional. They're constructing explanations for why you specifically are exception to their power, attempting to preserve belief that they generally possess influence capacity that just happens not to work on you for unique reasons that don't challenge their overall power perception. A few experience existential crisis if the power they've relied on and built identity around proves to be conditional on targets. Cooperating, then who are they without this influence capacity? Creating identity threat where recognition of power conditionality challenges their self-concept, requiring reconstruction of how they understand themselves and their position in social hierarchies. Some studying power theory recognize that influence does require cooperation. Michel Foucault and other theorists describe how power operates through subjects, participation making resistance or indifference potentially more effective than confrontation. Suggesting your unreachability demonstrates theoretical principle that power requires target cooperation, making it vulnerable to anyone who simply opts out. Others exploring dependency reduction note that minimizing needs is revolutionary act. If everyone achieved your value independence, existing power structures would collapse because they depend on maintaining populations that need resources and fear consequences that authorities control, making your unreachability potentially threaten entire social systems built on leverage-based influence. A few recognizing that some maintain power through force, while social influence requires target cooperation. Physical coercion can impose outcomes regardless of whether targets care, suggesting your unreachability to social influence might not extend to contexts where others can use direct force, making your immunity potentially domain-specific rather than absolute. Some celebrating control illusion collapse as liberating, discovering that supposed powerful people only have influence granted to them through others caring about outcomes they control makes observers feel less subordinate, recognizing they could theoretically achieve similar immunity through reducing their own dependencies and fears. The architects observe that control illusion collapse recognition reveals that your unreachability taught others about power's conditional nature. Their influence required your cooperation. Most believe power is inherent. Your independence revealed contingency and recognition. That influence evaporates when encountering someone who doesn't want what they offer or fear what they threaten. Forces acknowledging that power they thought they possessed was always granted by targets through having dependencies that could be exploited rather than being inherent capacity, making all leverage-based influence fundamentally conditional on targets, maintaining specific value systems that create vulnerability points, making them reachable through outcomes. Influencers control. Now the architects are revealing what enabled your unreachability. You apparently achieved what they call self-sufficient value system, internal validation, where you derive meaning, worth, and satisfaction from internal sources and self-chosen pursuits rather than from external validation or conventional achievements, making you independent from social approval systems that create leverage points through which others typically influence behavior by granting or withholding validation that most people desperately seek. Most people need external validation. Their sense of worth depends on others' approval. Their satisfaction comes from social recognition. Their meaning derives from conventional achievements that gain acknowledgement, making them vulnerable to influence through others' capacity to grant or withhold the validation they require for psychological well-being, creating dependency that can be exploited. But you apparently achieved internal validation, deriving worth from self-assessment rather than others' opinions, finding satisfaction in activities you value regardless of social recognition, creating meaning from purposes you choose, independent of whether others acknowledge their importance, making you immune to validation-based influence because you don't need others' approval for psychological security. Consider what internal validation requires developmentally. You must trust your own judgment. Rather than needing others to confirm your worth or validate your choices, you possess confidence in your self-assessment, making external opinions informative at most, but never definitive for your self-perception, creating independence from approval, seeking that most people never achieve. Watch what self-sufficient validation creates in behavior patterns. You make unconventional choices freely, not needing others. Approval means you can pursue paths that gain disapproval without psychological cost, making your behavior genuinely autonomous, rather than reactive to social pressures that constrain. People dependent on validation sources they cannot alienate without suffering psychological distress. Some studying self-determination recognize that internal motivation does create autonomy. Research shows people deriving satisfaction from activities themselves rather than from external rewards demonstrate greater persistence and well-being, suggesting your internal validation reflects healthy psychological development that creates genuine independence from external control. Others exploring narcissism note that some internal validation is defensive. People claiming not to need others' approval sometimes are protecting fragile egos from criticism through preemptive dismissal of feedback, making distinction between genuine internal validation and defensive independence requiring assessment of whether someone actually doesn't care or is protecting themselves from caring too much. A few from spiritual traditions recognize that transcending need for approval is advanced development. Many contemplative practices aim to cultivate internal validation and reduce dependency on external validation, making your achievement potentially reflect spiritual maturity that ordinary psychological development doesn't typically reach. Some attempting to develop similar internal validation discover deeply conditioned approval needs. Trying to not care what others think proves difficult because social validation needs are established early and maintained through constant reinforcement, making genuine internal validation require extensive psychological work that can't be achieved through simply deciding to value own judgment over others' opinions, others questioning whether you secretly need validation. Suspecting your apparent indifference conceals hidden need for approval that sophisticated observation might detect. They're watching for signs that internal validation is performance rather than genuine state, making them uncertain whether you truly don't need external validation or skillfully conceal this dependency. The architects observe that self-sufficient value system, internal validation, is what enabled your unreachability, deriving worth and meaning from internal sources rather than external validation makes you immune to approval-based influence. Most people need others' validation. Your worth is self-determined, and independence from external validation, systems that create leverage points through which others typically influence behavior by granting or withholding the approval most people require for psychological well-being, makes you unreachable through validation-based control mechanisms that depend entirely on targets needing others' opinions for their sense of worth-making. Anyone achieving genuine internal validation automatically immune to entire category of social influence that operates through approval granting and approval withdrawal. The architects are now analyzing social implications of your unreachability. You're experiencing what they call authentic connection filtering relationship purification, where being unreachable to conventional influence automatically eliminates transactional relationships while preserving or attracting genuine connections, creating situation where your immunity to leverage-based influence serves as filter, ensuring that anyone remaining in your life relates to you authentically rather than strategically, because strategic relating requires leverage points. Your unreachability eliminated. Most people maintain mixed relationships. Some connections are genuine, while others are transactional, with people relating strategically to gain benefits or avoid consequences through maintaining relationships that serve instrumental purposes rather than providing authentic connection, creating social networks that include both real relationships and strategic associations that would dissolve if mutual benefit disappeared. But your unreachability purifies relationships. People who were relating to you strategically, attempting to influence you for their benefit, discovered their tactics don't work, making transactional motivation pointless, causing strategic relationships to dissolve while genuine connections remain or strengthen, because authentic relating doesn't require leverage points that your unreachability eliminated. Watch what relationship purification creates in social network quality. Remaining connections are authentic. People still in your life after unreachability recognition are those who relate to you genuinely rather than strategically, because strategic relating became impossible when they discovered you're unreachable through conventional influence, making only authentic connection viable basis for relationship. Some studying relationship quality recognize that filtering does improve networks. Research shows smaller, authentic networks provide more satisfaction and support than larger mixed networks containing transactional relationships, suggesting your unreachability created beneficial purification through eliminating low-quality connections that were consuming energy without providing genuine intimacy. Others exploring loneliness note that purification can be isolating. Eliminating transactional relationships might reduce network size significantly if many connections were strategic, creating potential isolation where authentic relationships are higher quality but much fewer, making you potentially lonely despite relationship improvement for connections that remain. A few recognize that some relationships are acceptably mixed. Not all. Instrumental aspects make relationships inauthentic, with many healthy connections, including both genuine caring and mutual benefit, making sharp distinction between authentic and transactional, potentially create false binary where most real relationships contain both elements. Some experiencing their own purification feel relieved, discovering who relates genuinely versus strategically provides valuable information about relationship quality, making them appreciate clarity. Your unreachability, created through forcing everyone to reveal whether they're capable of authentic connection or were only relating instrumentally. Others, feeling abandoned by strategic departees, experience hurt, even though those relationships were transactional. Their dissolution creates loss-making. You feel abandoned by people who only stayed while believing they could influence you for their benefit but left once recognizing you're unreachable. A few attracting new, authentic connections discover quality over quantity. Your unreachability signals to others seeking genuine relationships that you won't participate in. Strategic relating, attracting people who value authentic connection while repelling those seeking transactional relationships, creating beneficial selection where your social network organizes around authenticity preference. Some questioning whether you can maintain any relationships, wondering if being completely unreachable makes all relationships impossible because some mutual influence is necessary for functional relationships, suggesting absolute unreachability might be too extreme for healthy interdependence that satisfying connections require. The architects observe that authentic connection filtering, relationship purification, reveals that your unreachability automatically improved. Relationship quality, strategic relating, became impossible, making only authentic connection viable. Most maintain mixed networks. Your unreachability filtered them, and recognition that people relating strategically departed when discovering they couldn't influence you while genuine connections remained or strengthened, demonstrates that unreachability serves beneficial filtering function, ensuring anyone in your life relates authentically rather than instrumentally, because strategic relating requires leverage points. Your independence eliminated, making transactional motivation pointless, while authentic connection doesn't depend on influence capacity, making genuine relationships survive or even improve when unreachability eliminates strategic elements that were present. Now something's emerging that the architects call unreachability paradox, influence amplification. Observers, recognizing you're unreachable to conventional influence, are discovering that your immunity to their leverage attempts actually increases your influence over them, because your unreachability creates mystery and perceived superiority that makes them more receptive to your perspectives than they would be to someone they could manipulate, creating paradox where being uninfluenceable makes you more influential. Most people assume influence is reciprocal, believing that to influence others you must be influenceable by them, creating mutual dependency where everyone possesses some leverage over everyone else, making influence capacity bidirectional. But your unreachability breaks reciprocity. You influence others while remaining immune to their influence attempts, creating unidirectional power that amplifies your impact because people are more affected by those they cannot affect, making your immunity create fascination and deference that accessible people don't inspire. Watch what paradox creates in influence dynamics. Your words carry more weight because people know they cannot manipulate you into saying what serves their interests. They trust that your perspectives reflect genuine beliefs rather than strategic positioning, making your opinions more credible than comparable statements from influenceable people whose positions might be shaped by others' leverage. Some studying persuasion recognize that source independence does increase credibility. Research shows people trust communicators who have nothing to gain from persuading them more than those with apparent motives, suggesting your unreachability creates perception that you lack ulterior motives, making your influence more powerful through increased credibility. Others exploring social proof note that rare qualities attract attention Being unusual in your unreachability makes you more interesting and influential than common accessible people, because humans are drawn to exceptional individuals, making your immunity itself source of fascination that amplifies impact. A few from power theory recognize that withdrawal can be strategic. Some influence strategies deliberately create distance and unavailability to increase perceived value and desirability, suggesting your unreachability might be sophisticated tactic rather than natural state, making distinction between genuine immunity and performed unavailability potentially important. Some experiencing amplified influence discover responsibility, finding that people are highly receptive to your perspectives because they trust your unreachability means you lack manipulative motives, creates obligation to use influence responsibly since people are vulnerable to you despite your immunity to them. Others questioning whether amplification is sustainable, wondering if increased influence from unreachability depends on novelty that might fade as people adjust to your immunity, suggesting influence amplification might be temporary phenomenon rather than permanent effect of being unreachable. A few recognizing potential for exploitation, understanding that your unreachability increases others' receptiveness to your influence while you remain immune to theirs, creates power asymmetry that could be abused, making ethical considerations about how you use amplified influence important given that others are vulnerable to you while you're protected from them. Some attempting to cultivate similar paradoxical influence discover that performing unreachability doesn't work. Trying to appear immune to influence while actually being reachable creates incongruence that perceptive observers detect, making fake unreachability backfire through appearing manipulative rather than creating genuine amplification that authentic immunity produces. The architects observe that unreachability paradox influence amplification reveals that your immunity to conventional influence actually increased rather than decreased your influence over others. Being uninfluenceable makes you more influential. Most assume influence is reciprocal. Your immunity breaks a reciprocity and recognition that people trust and value perspectives from someone they cannot manipulate more than opinions from accessible people whose positions might be shaped by others' leverage, creates paradox where your unreachability amplifies impact through increased credibility and fascination, making you more influential precisely because you're immune to being influenced, creating unidirectional power that reciprocal influence relationships cannot achieve, regardless of how much mutual leverage participants possess.